Hey, my name is Zach Applegate. I'm the Digital Media and Technology Director here at Sandals Church.
My name is Mike Terrell. I'm the marketing lead here at Sandals Church on the digital media team.
And we're giving you guys kind of a behind-the-scenes look about with our team. And a lot of these folks are the ones who are bringing you the content and the services you're seeing every weekend right now. So we thought it'd be fun just to kind of have a conversation about that, how our team formed, what we do, and yeah, just give you guys a behind-the-scenes look at that. So a quick overview of our team. So when we say digital media, it's actually kind of a few different teams that make that up. So there's our online services team. They're the ones who help produce the services that we're seeing on the weekend online. Kind of like the core digital media folks. So we've got a content creator and people who create videos and things like that. Our marketing team, communications, technology, which is more traditional IT, and then development, so the folks kind of behind our app, a Roku channel, different things like that. And when we think about our digital media team, a lot of that for us is kind of translation. So we think about how we're taking the vision of Sandals Church and we're translating that online, how we're drawing people into that. But we're also trying to think bigger picture. So we toss out a lot of terms like omni-channel or multi-channel. Like, how do we take what we're doing and put that a lot of different places? How do we contextualize that in those places to make it relevant to where it's at? We're also looking at impact. So, we were fortunate enough to have developers on our team that help us to create really, really great stuff. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the time we're looking at impact, like what is the impact that something that we create or that we do is going to have, and how do we maximize that? A lot of what we do is outward focused. We've got a lot of great folks at Sandals Church, our worship, our production teams, our pastors, and a lot of those folks tend to be hyper focused on the weekend. And a lot of our team tends to be kind of outward focused. Like, how are we reaching people? How are we drawing people in? How are we creating things that pique people's interest? So we tend to be kind of outward focused. But one of the things that was a little bit new for us this year is that we really wanted to focus on connection. How do we build tools, or how do we create content, or how do we connect with people online and draw them into the family of God, the family of Sandals Church, and like, what does that look like in different digital contexts? It's some of the reasons why we've built our mobile app and focused on creating different pieces of media that are kind of geared towards reaching people that are not already inside of the church. So that's a little bit about our team, just a really quick kind of flyover of kind of like the areas and what we do. But I'm going to kind of pitch it to Mike to talk about kind of why we formed the team and kind of from his view, like why some of that made sense.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's an interesting team because there's lots of like different disciplines all under one house. And I think the funny thing is like at the outset, it might sound random, it might sound like a weird recipe to put together, but really like why we came together as a digital media team, from technology to content creators to marketing, communications, the reason we did that was we really saw the opportunity to reach far and wide digitally. And what's been interesting as a team is sort of kind of showing how reaching people digitally, especially during the week, like what you were saying, people who aren't even necessarily in church, really like why that's so important and how that translates to actually creating community on the ground. And so I think, from where I sit, bringing marketing on there, because again, that could sound kind of strange, like plug in with the tech guys, plug in with the guys who handle streaming. Really why that was such a neat fit is because when you bring marketing, when you bring the concepts and the ideas and the conversations around how do we, creatively engage people, how do we message to people about who Sandals Church is as a church, what we're doing, what we want to invite people into, when you plug that into the team that focuses on the actual distribution and really the experience, the platforms for people to engage, you begin to have this sort of synergy where it's like, here's my creative idea of, here's the message I want people to receive, here's the visual or kind of the concept I want them to feel. How does that translate to where they would land or where they would hear about it? And when you plug those in together, I've just seen really, really cool execution, where the creative concept translates to something that someone would actually experience online, and they could actually take an action step towards moving to being a part of what Sandals Church is doing, or even just like receiving spiritually, receiving guidance or encouragement.
Yeah, a neat example that kind of struck me as you were talking was the motivated study, the 60 Days to a Better Me study that we created a while back. Now it feels like a million years ago practically, but that was a really neat collaboration because our development team, they're the ones who actually like created the app and created the study in the app. We created a lot of promotional materials for that study. And so it was neat to not only work together to create just a really killer experience within the app, but also like, how do we message that? How do we promote it? How do we drive people to it? And I mean, we saw so many people engage with that study, and it was really neat to kind of work on that collaboratively together.
Yeah, totally. I think it's, again, that example is exactly it of here's the creative concept, here's the look, here's what we want to message to people. Because we're plugged in with the app development team, it goes to them and they can think about how to translate that creative concept into what someone would experience on the app. And so it becomes much more than just artwork or just, creative messaging. All of a sudden it becomes this experience, because now people are experiencing this idea of, I'm motivated to get in God's word every day on the app, like when they open up the next study. So it's, the end result is really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I want to change course just a little bit and talk about, what, over the last, it's hard to even keep track of time right now, but the last 5 or 6 weeks have just been, it feels like we've been in like warp speed, like we've really put the pedal to the metal. And I'm curious from your perspective, like I'll share mine, but like what's something that really has struck you, over the last few weeks? Yeah,
I think, what's really been exciting for me, brought me a lot of joy, is, as a team, we love content. We think of content as location, and really what we mean by that, and we've talked about this a lot, is and this is really your vision that you set forth for our team, is we want to meet new people. And the way we're going to meet new people is we're going to create content for them to experience and hear about us. We see content as like a handshake. This is who Sandals Church is what we're talking about. So with everything going on with COVID-19 and shelter in place, because, by God's grace, He's allowed our church to step into the content space and step into how do we steward technology well. We were really set up well to minister to people during this time, and literally minister meaning we had the tools and the teams in place to make content available to you so that you can, check out church when all of a sudden your whole world is shaking. Church is really, really easily available for you. And what got me was I have some close friends who were really, really just kind of shook by everything going on. And we were having really cool conversations just about God and faith, and even like, is this the end times, because everything was so shook up. And so I'd reach out to them, and it was kind of interesting because, a lot of times when you have conversations to share your faith, it's kind of scary, and you kind of just like grit your teeth and like you just go there. And in this sense, I was like, well, here's the link, man. My church is doing a sermon. If you want to check it out, it might be encouraging to you right now. And one of my good buddies joined in and was checking out the sermons, and that was a huge encouragement to me. And I realized that what happened was God had given us the grace as a church to be positioned to just meet people where they're at. They're like, right now the whole world's shaking, and we don't know where to turn. And then it's like, here's a sermon ready for you on Facebook or the YouTube link whenever you need it. And seeing how that just was able to meet people, and that being so timely, just brought me so much joy, man. It was like all of a sudden people had questions for the church, and we were able to be there. So I've just been like so stoked about that, and cool. Grateful to God for that.
Gosh. Yeah, I think one of the things that's really neat about this particular season is that people seem way more open to those conversations than they maybe have been before. And I think that's also one of the things that I really appreciate about our team is so many of our team are people focused, not just technology focused. I think it's really easy to skip over people and just figure out like what the tech solution is. I think one of the things that really struck me was Easter. we've been really limiting who's been coming in to produce services. And so literally on Easter, in the building of a megachurch, it was me and Nick, our online services lead. It was the two of us
with masks
here.
on too.
With masks on. And
in
Alex
the
was
dark
there for a while
right?
too. Yeah, in the dark.
Yeah.
And so the 2 or 3 of us for a period of time on like arguably the biggest day of the year in Christianity. But seeing literally tens of thousands of people watch our services online, engage with us, like that was just so weird, but so neat to see at the same time.
That's cool.
So yeah, now we're gonna pitch to a piece that's just a little bit of behind the scenes of what our team kind of does. So we're gonna roll that right now.
We are living in a world that has become increasingly digital. This poses a problem because the vision of Sandals Church is to be real. Authenticity is best felt in face-to-face conversations, in-person worship, and in groups. This is a behind-the-scenes look at how Sandals Church transitioned to online.
Hey Sandals Church, I've got a big announcement. Obviously, you're all aware of COVID-19 and the impact it's having on our daily life. I've decided because of the crisis that it's in the best interest of our church family. It's a big family, over 20,000 of us, young, middle-aged, and old, and some who are battling diseases. It's in the best interest that we move our services this weekend from our church campuses to our online campus. Many of you already watch online, so there's
We've had a plan for this for about 2.5 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks, probably, about at least 15 days for sure, that we've been planning on what to do, how we're going to do it, how we're going to deploy, what the processes are. And then Thursday of this week, we decided, yes, we're going to do it. And we just executed on that Thursday to make it all happen. Moving exclusively online was a bold move, but something we were prepared for. One of the things that helped calm our staff was hearing from Pastor Matt Brown and Dan Zimbardi, our executive pastor.
That'll actually be in my sermon, but I'll tell you guys, so both Paul and Peter, so in 1 Peter and in the book of Romans, chapter 13, they say submit to your leaders. So here's what I would say to that is Gavin Newsom is our leader, whether you voted for him or not, and he's not asking us to do something that's immoral, something that's wrong, or something that conflicts with our faith. He's asking us to do something he believes is in our best interest. So it's in our best interest to follow our leaders whenever we can. And so one of the points I'm going to have this week is remain faithful to biblical commands. And that's going to be that point.
You know, if you've been through the honor talk, point number one, what's point number one on the honor talk? Anyone? Honor people when they don't deserve it. And so if someone is communicating in a dishonoring way, why are you guys this, that, or the other? You know, our encouragement is to continue to honor them, and but stand firm on what we're doing and why we're doing it. And but you can definitely and should still honor someone, even though they may not deserve it in the moment.
Because of the clear vision of leadership, we were able to do a lot of things we normally wouldn't have been able to do. It's because of honor, authenticity, and agility that we were able to pivot to online as quickly as we did. We created a studio in just 4 hours with the resources available. Our production team created an amazing experience for Easter, and this came from a lot of hard work from different teams all across the organization, pulling together with the vision of real at the core, but also understanding we are one as Sandals Church. Today has been a really crazy kind of running around, but at the same time extremely fulfilling, knowing that we're able to help people and just keep people calm during this time where things can get blown out of proportion, or people just don't feel heard, or they feel lonely, or they're in a panic. So I'm hosting this weekend. It's already done, it's Thursday night, but we still have so many other things that we need to think of in the weeks to come. One of the most fulfilling things our team gets to see is when you share your Sandals Church experience on social media. It is so amazing to see the online service in so many homes. And this Easter, we saw a large turnout of new guests, and because of your sharing on social media and inviting friends, we were able to get the Easter experience to countries we have never been in before. So for myself and the digital media team, we just want to say thank you for being patient and gracious and gathering to meet in this new way. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I do know that this vision of authenticity is spreading across the globe.
Happy Easter to everyone out there, to you and your families. Hopefully you're enjoying this day. And if you want to join us with our service at 10 a.m., swipe up and we'll spend that time together. We'll see you there.
Man, it's interesting and it's crazy to just see some of like what's going on behind the scenes, and really what you're seeing is, man, there have been a ton of troubleshooting conversations, and then there's also been a ton of excitement. So it's like you experience that freak out moment of how do we pivot 10 times, and then you experience those highs of, whoa, we got in front of how many people, and like that's really been, when I think about the challenges and the sweetness of this season, I would say really the challenge has been just to keep playing at that level of focus and urgency. It feels like you're going all the way to Game 7 in the NBA playoffs. Like it feels like you got to stay like LeBron James focused because it is so like unprecedented, and so that's been a challenge because that can be taxing on a team when you have to troubleshoot with your tech, when you have to pivot and move schedules around really quickly, or when something really, really important happens, you have to shift gears and chase after it. So it's taxing, but I would say one of the things I've enjoyed though, and I've been grateful for, is when you get in moments like this, it's sort of like you get to pull the trigger on your ideas really quick. There's not a lot of like tape or let's talk about this. It's like, because we have to move quickly.
Yeah, just do it.
You bring a creative idea to the table, and it has I would say like a 80% like shot of like getting pushed through. So I've enjoyed that, and I think that again, that's God's grace to Sandals Church, is leadership willing to take a shot, leadership willing to pivot as well. Like I think that's one of the things as I've experienced that sweetness, I also know that that's coming from leadership at Sandals Church because they pivot quickly. They're willing to make quick decisions. So that's been fun, man. When you have creative ideas and there's really not enough time to be like, no, there's only time to be like, yeah, move. It's kind of cool to see your ideas come to life. So yeah.
Gosh.
How about you though? What would you say as the tech director, the digital media team lead? What's been challenging during this time, and then what's been exciting and got you stoked?
I mean, I kind of echo what you said a little bit. Like just the full support of our organization has been amazing. Like, I realize kind of the light is on our team right now. Like a lot of the work and ideas and everything is kind of flowing through our team. But man, like there's so many people behind our team, production, weekend services, even our campus pastors have been kind of rallying behind us and trying to figure out ways to support what we're doing. So that's been really neat. I think the other thing that's just been encouraging, just seeing kind of those numbers every weekend. Like I don't think that any of us really had that in our mind that we'd be literally reaching, on Easter, we might see, 40,000 views over the course of a Saturday, Sunday. Like that's just really amazing and super encouraging. But like just the stories coming out of that too, like people reaching out and saying, man, like this really affected me, or I shared this with my friend. And, that's been really amazing. Is just hearing those stories of people who have experienced life change, or something we created or did, or just our services impacted their life. Like that's been really encouraging. I think some things that have been pretty hard or challenging is that, it feels like our team kind of like already works at a fast pace, and just kind of like that like light speed element where you're just like trying to hold on, it's just like, oh my gosh, like I might be on the phone with you, and then I might be on the phone with Nick, and
like
then
on the phone, launch a web page, and then get back to that.
Yeah, right. And then it's like our executive pastor Dan Zambardi's calling me. It's like, okay, like trying to juggle all these balls.
Totally,
like that's been challenging. I think that a lot of our team has worked more over the last several weeks than maybe we ever have, before. I think that a couple of the other things that have been a little challenging is just like there's so much uncertainty right now. It's like, how do you plan for the future when there's so much uncertainty? Like who knows how long we're going to be producing only digital services online. And that kind of creates some friction a little bit at times, because our team ends up kind of being the bottleneck for a lot of things. It's like people want to do this idea or that idea or this thing, and right now kind of like a lot of those ideas and or the execution of those have to go through our team
because all the other channels are closed.
Exactly. So I think that's been challenging as well. But it's been really amazing to see so many people in our team step up and like kind of like meet that challenge. I think about where we're sitting now and the people we're with, like we stood up this studio in 3 or 4 hours on like a Monday or something.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the idea of an idea,
Yeah.
and like what could we throw together to kind of make this happen.
Yeah.
Things like that have been super encouraging.
I like that message we got from Tyler Bianco on our team, who's doing a lot of the production and the studio setup. Yesterday, I think you sent a message to him at maybe noon, and then we got a response back at 5 p.m. that said, sorry, I got home after, filming the debrief and I fell asleep until now.
Yeah.
And I just like, I love that because that's a picture. That's
Right.
like really a picture of his work right now. He's been the clutch player to make all this happen, but
Yeah.
he's playing at that level every day, man.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
It's like sometimes we're on, a Google Hangout or a Zoom call, and like I've got, a 9-month-old, crawling on top of me, and
Totally.
there are like kids screaming in the background. But
Yeah.
just how our team has kind of stepped up to that has been just
Yeah.
really encouraging, and something that makes me really proud is, as the person who gets to lead that team, it's been really cool. So yeah, what we're gonna pitch to next is just a call with our team that is just a conversation about how that first weekend went down. So we kind of like made a decision on like a Thursday morning that we're gonna hold digital services online, and so we're gonna kind of pull in some other folks from our team to talk about that a little bit. All right, so this is a meeting with kind of our broader team. This is not quite everyone. We're missing a few key team members who are busy with school or taking care of their family. But a lot of our meetings look just like this, which is kind of funny thinking back to just a few short weeks ago. I'm someone who really thrives on structure. I'm having a schedule, and it's kind of been anything but over the last several weeks. It's been a really fast pace and just kind of all over the map. And there are days where it's like what I wouldn't give for a consistent schedule and a full day of childcare. But we're going to talk a little bit about what those first couple of weeks were like for our team. We went from kind of being maybe Sandals Church's arguably second largest campus to being kind of the largest and only campus. And it was a lot of hard work and deliberate decisions that kind of made that possible and successful. And one of the things that I really appreciate about our team is that we're really people and kingdom focused. We're not just focused on what's like the cool thing or creating things, but we're really vision and gospel oriented. And that's something I really appreciate about all the members on our team. We're always thinking about what's going to create the best experience for people. How do we connect people not only to the vision of Sandals Church but to the gospel? And so when I think about that first week, I have a really vivid memory of bringing our entire team down to this conference room that we had been working in with our executive team, and kind of like laying out the decision and what we were doing and all of the pieces that we needed to kind of put in place. And that was just a really exciting but a really nerve-wracking time, because there was so much uncertainty. We'd never done anything like this before. There were a lot of things we still had to figure out. And so I'm really interested in having our team kind of share their perspective from those first couple of weeks where things changed rapidly. We really worked hard to draw as many people in as we could and make things easy and accessible. And so that first weekend, we added a bunch of service times. We had an on-demand service. We added a Spanish service kind of at the last minute. And all of those plans that we had been working on for the prior couple of weeks that at the time seemed so far-fetched were now being used and put into place. And so, one of the big pieces was our communication and marketing strategy around that. And so I'm going to pitch it to Mike and Stephanie to talk a little bit about their experience and about that strategy a bit. So Mike and Stephanie, what was your experience?
Yeah, so kind of like what you're saying, I remember spending a little bit of time, maybe the week or two leading up to that, coming up with our coronavirus contingency plan. And it was sort of a doc that I made. I'm like, this isn't going to affect us. This isn't going to happen. I think a lot of people were like, this will blow over. Maybe we have one weekend where we have to do things differently. And so the whole day before, I remember writing up every email that you got from a company saying here's what we're doing for coronavirus. I was writing up our version of that. Oh, the church is safe. We're sanitizing. We're doing all this. And then I remember pulling into the parking lot that Thursday morning. And I think Chris actually put an article in our Slack saying, oh, the governor just said we can't have gatherings of more than 250 people. And I went, oh, I guess all that stuff I just wrote, we're not going to use that. We're going to have to do something else. And spent the next 4 hours, I think, in that conference room listening to what Pastor Matt and our executive pastor, Dan Zimbardi, had to say about what are we going to do? We don't want to ever say we're closing the church. We want to make sure that people know that we're meeting online instead. And he really made a point that, there's a lot of people who have never done church online before, and we want to make sure that we have a plan for them and they know what to do. And so even like keeping our campuses open that weekend to receive anyone, but knowing that the goal was hopefully no one comes, was just such a weird shift in how we communicate, how we talk to people. But I still loved Pastor Matt and Pastor Dan's hearts for, we want to make sure people know that the church is here for them and we're still meeting. But we also want to honor our government, and we want to honor the people who are in authority over us. And I was really proud to be a part of Sandals Church. I remember just that day and over the next few days as we figured out how to completely change what we've been doing for years.
Yeah, I remember that first weekend, which is, doors were still open, but we were telling everyone our services were online. And I think we had 9 people, it was like 9 or 12. It was a really small number of people actually show up, which was a huge win for that.
Which is a weird win.
Yeah, exactly. Mike, how about you?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember with Stephanie that she had a running document of communication that I was trying to stay in sync with her, and it was like an infinity document, man. Like these really robust, really robust, detailed like communication packages, like for different scenarios. And I remember the morning, I think, it was Thursday. I came in and she sat down and she's like typing really fast, and I was like, I think I said like, hey, I'm just gearing up for the weekend. And she just kind of whispered like, yeah, well, the governor said we can't meet. So looks like we're not going to meet. And so I was like, okay, we're going to turn left here. Like we're going to make a hard turn. But I think, it was interesting. There's 2 things that stood out to me was in that moment, what I think Sandals Church needed from like a marketing communication standpoint was they needed clarity, which Stephanie really brought to the table. Like I felt like her communication was, I don't know. I think you can look back as like, that's some of your best work. And I know you got a lot of creativity, Stephanie, but in that moment, I think you shifted to like really capturing Pastor Matt's heart and also direction for our people. And then the other thing was just for me remembering like, man, there are so many moving pieces here. I need to coordinate this. And a lot of times, I don't think that's thought about with marketing. Like I think from a far off standpoint, marketing just sounds like that sounds cool and creative and fun, but there's really like an operations standpoint, which means like, what are we saying? Where are we saying it? How is it going out? And so probably the coolest thing was just like hustling to get all that stuff sent out properly timed, and seeing that when it was sent out, it was an example of Sandals Church, not just, hey, here's some instructions, we're going to change things. It was leadership plus really like ministry. Like I felt like what Pastor Matt put out, especially with that video announcement, just reflected his care for the people. And additionally, it reflected a church saying, we want to speak to the culture. Like we want to speak to the world of what's happening here. Like as a church, we have, scripture that guides us, and we also want to be leaders and think through this smart. So anyway, I think the win was, on, I think Saturday, I don't know if it was Saturday or Sunday, Stephanie, but I got a text from our network services director, executive director, and it was a picture of our main campus, and the auditorium was empty at one of the service times. And he sent it to Stephanie and I, and he said, well done. I was really confused. I didn't know what he meant by that. And it took me like an hour, and then I was like, oh, nobody showed up. So cool, kind of sucks too, but I guess we did it. So it was a crazy time, man.
Yeah, I mean, we went on to see, a whole lot of people join us online that first weekend. That was a really huge win and a lot of engagement, people, sharing that with their friends, which was really cool to see. Kind of pitching it over to Nick and Alex, they're on the team that helps produce and run the weekend services. So I want to hear from them a little bit. How did working with our teams to capture, produce, what was the kind of thought about the on-demand and service times and things like that? Nick and Alex, what was kind of your experience this first couple of weeks?
Yeah, so I would say we made a pivot to on-demand. And one thing that we talk about our team constantly is this idea that there's 167 hours in the week that people are not in church. And so what we decided was, if you're a first responder, if you're out there in the medical field, and you're not able to make a service time. We normally don't post that video till like Monday afternoon. So we decided, well, the first moment that we have service, we need to have an on-demand version that can go out everywhere, so it's accessible. So we thought first about accessibility. Like, we have to think about our people, and this is a crazy time for a lot of people. So allowing them to have church in their own context was what we were going for. A lot of teams worked really hard. We're capturing on Thursdays. We're also getting the files sent out to Rev. In Riverside, we have the largest, deaf community in the nation because of our schools. And so getting those, files captioned so that way people can read and keep up. We want to make sure that we are there for everybody. And then also a Spanish service. And so it was a lot of things to do within, a couple of days. We had literally Thursday we captured, and we knew we had to have this ready by Saturday with everything that we normally have. So it was a fun challenge.
Yeah, specifically, I remember my boss, Brian, calling me about the Spanish service. I don't remember what day it was. I think it was Friday night, maybe. He was like, so what would it take to do a Spanish service? And I was like, I don't understand what you're asking me right now. Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know. Alex, how about you?
Yeah, that was a fun time. I got to edit out that first and the continue of the Spanish services, and just really being able to like jump in and help with like connecting those people to a service was crazy. And then going from 3 services, which we normally do on a weekend, to 7 services plus Spanish services, and seeing like the agility of the production team and this team like come together and just make something happen in a short period of time was really cool to see. I remember the first week we did this was like 7 of us there, and we're just like, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. To see how many people actually connect and to see how many people were able to connect with the Word of God was really cool.
Yeah. I think there was kind of 2 key things that I thought was pretty neat kind of surrounding that. And that is, Nick mentioned the on-demand service. We also tried to replicate as many of our service times as possible, so that way people could kind of keep their rhythms. But Nick, what was kind of our strategy, particularly that second weekend? We really tried to bring in a lot of our campus teams to online hosting. Those were folks that normally would be, meeting people and ministering to them at a campus. And now they weren't able to do that. And so we're able to pull a lot of them in, campus pastors, different folks to host online. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so what we wanted was we wanted people to have the feeling that when you show up to online, where no matter where you show up to that live service, that you see a familiar face. And so what we did across Facebook and live.Sandals Church TV and YouTube is we had our campus staff dispersed throughout there for every service. So if you're from San Bernardino and you're watching on YouTube, you see somebody from San Bernardino. Or if you're from East Valley, you have that connection point where you can say, oh, hey, that's Pastor Justin. Like, it's so good to see somebody familiar. And so we try to keep, even though it's a large service, we try to keep it like small in that aspect, that you see a familiar face, that somebody who's greeting you that you probably know because they're a kids lead or they're, a campus lead or a pastor. So seeing that we saw a lot of engagement that second week. It felt like the engagement increased because we were intentional about, meeting people where they're at.
Yeah, it's neat to see, like, we've been continuing to do that every week. It's neat to see, campus pastors, on a service, chatting online with the people they'd normally, be meeting in person. That's been really cool to see. Changing gears a little bit, pitching it to Tyler. So we stood up a studio in a matter of hours, and then have been creating midweek programming to continue to build connection with people. And that's been, really cool to not only see our team rally to build that studio, but to continue to see that content go out. Tell us a little bit about that experience for you.
Yeah, I'm actually in our little makeshift studio right now, which is why it looks like a disaster behind me. Because everything that we're doing in this studio is like duct taped together. And I don't just mean like the equipment, like the sets, the program, like everything. We're really, we're running, we're building the plane while we're flying it, essentially. And that was especially true from the get-go. That we had this incredible first weekend that everybody's kind of talked about a little bit, and that Monday morning I came into the office a little late, And Zach texted me and said, "Hey, are you at HP?" And I said, I'll be in a little bit." He said, "Great, just heads up, it's gonna get crazier." And it was like, okay. And so I got ready, I got into work, and literally I was getting my coffee, and our executive pastor, Dan Zimbardi, walks into the kitchen, and he's like, "Hey, do you have some time? Like, let's do this right now." And I was like, "Oh boy." And he said, "Yeah, we want to have midweek programming, live broadcasts every night of the week." And I said, "Okay, we're not set up for that, but I think we can do that." And he said, "Great, the first program goes out tonight at 6:00. And so I ran over to the team, and I was kind of in a panic, and I was like, "I need help. Everybody help." And we stood up the studio in a matter of hours, and we were troubleshooting until, like, the first program was at 6. We were troubleshooting still at 5:59. But our first program went out, and we had just incredible engagement. I remember Mike texted me about halfway through it, and he said, "Hey, we're not live right now, are we?" And I said, "Yes, we're live right now. Like, please don't bother me. I'm in the middle of like this live broadcast." And he was like, "Dude, I'm so sorry. I didn't know this was actually like going out. Like, there was just hardly any communication between our team that whole day, just because everything was so crazy." And I turned around, and Zach and Nick were behind me, and I showed them Mike's text, just like in despair. And then they flipped their computers around and showed me that by the end of the broadcast, there was over 600 people that joined us live for that first broadcast. And ever since then, we've just seen really incredible engagement. And it's just such a joy and a pleasure for me and for all of us on this team to be able to maintain presence in people's lives, even though we can't be present together, and to be able to connect people with Sandals Church, to be able to connect people in a very real, authentic way with God, and to be able to connect people with each other. In the chat, every program, I'm seeing some of the same faces over again that I'm able to remember, and I'm able to really engage and connect with. And I'm seeing people who remember each other and are able to connect with each other a little bit in the chat on live.sandalschurch.tv. And so it's been such a joy to be able to do it. And I just, every time I walk into this space, I just thank God that we had resources laying around this campus that we could sort of cobble together. And I also pray that it keeps working. So
yeah, I mean, creating pieces like this is really neat, but I think one of the things that's been really cool to watch is like the kids and the youth teams like really jump into that. Like the programming that they've been creating on a weekly basis has been super cool. And just seeing the engagement that they've been seeing from folks who would normally show up, you know, on like a Wednesday for their event, that's been pretty cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's they're doing great work, and I love to get to support them and get to help. Like we talk a lot on this team about maximizing our ministries. We want to help them do what they do better, more excellently, to reach more people, and so it's been awesome.
That's cool. Yeah, kind of thinking back technology-wise, particularly on that first weekend, you know, we had just never seen the types of numbers in terms of traffic and viewers that we had, you know, ever seen anything close to like that before. Chris, how many times did our website go down that first weekend?
Yeah, I think it was pretty clear how unprepared we were for such a high load. But I think it crashed 4 or 5 times. But luckily, we were able to fix some issues and expand the infrastructure, and now we can reliably handle it.
Yeah, I know that, you know, as we were trying to run services that weekend, we're also trying to watch, you know, our websites and services, and so that was pretty nerve-wracking. We had just never, you know, needed to worry about traffic levels that high before, and so, you know, that team spent the next 2 weeks working through all of our technology. And I think that next weekend, I think maybe we went down once. And then the week after that, we went on to have a prayer night, which is still our highest attended single digital service we've ever had. And that went off just flawlessly. So it was really cool to see, that team kind of dig in and figure out the different issues we're having, solve those effectively, and make things super reliable. So kind of from like a technology standpoint, it was really cool to see not only the numbers we were having in terms of people showing up to digital services, but how our team responded to that. So yeah, any other closing thoughts from folks as we kind of start to wrap this up a little bit?
I think one thing that came to mind on the midweek content that Tyler was talking about, because we're about 7 weeks in now, 6 or 7 weeks. When we started it, it sounded like a cool idea. Our team focuses a lot on content production. So it's like, cool, we love content, let's go. But 6 weeks in, I'm seeing the value from a standpoint that presence value is becoming increasingly clear, right? So initially, I think I was viewing it only from the lens of, is this cool programming? Are people going to like this? Like, are we giving them something cool and helpful to watch each night? And I think that's important for sure. But 6 weeks in, more than that, I think what I'm seeing is like the fact that we are live on available for you every single night is, to me, I think the most valuable piece there is that it shows our church, our community, that this is crazy, but the church is still here, active, trying to follow the Lord and minister. So it's interesting. All the stuff we're doing, it feels like the more time that passes, more things become clear as to what their value is and their impact.
Yeah, I would say for me, the biggest impact I've seen personally was the Spanish service. We have a host, her name's Paulette from Ecuador, and she's, been online as a host with us in our English services for about a year. And then once we had the Spanish services, she started attending those. And on Easter, she decided to follow Jesus. And for me, that was really impactful because, working alongside somebody, assuming like, hey, this person is following Jesus, they're serving in the church, and then having something that's in their native language that really reflects like the vision of being real personally, and seeing life change. I think that's what it's about. It's not about like the views, it's not about like the content, but it's about how those things can actually impact life change for people and just bring this vision of authenticity to a larger audience. So that's been the biggest thing for me. And so I'm so thankful for Aurelio and his team for having the vision for that and partnering with us and making it happen.
Yeah, that's cool. I love hearing stories like that. I think it's, really what, keeps our team going, especially during this season. Yeah, I mean, I think what Nick said is really kind of the heart of our team. A lot of the reasons that we're making these decisions is we want to be able to reach as many people as possible. We want things to be simple and easy to use, people focused. In everything we do, we want to, lead people to the gospel with the vision of Sandals Church, that vision of authenticity. So yeah, well, I'm just really grateful for all of you guys. Thank you for all of your hard work. And I'm really grateful for our Sandals Church community, all the people around us that are supporting us. It's just been amazing to see everyone rallied together, particularly all the people that are watching or supporting Sandals Church. We're just so grateful to not only have a job, but to be able to do what we get to do every week, to use our passions, our skills, the things that God has given us, to reach people. It's just amazing to be able to do that. So thank you. I also want to give a big thanks to, our friends, our family, our significant others. They're the real MVPs, particularly those first couple weeks. I know a lot of us weren't around a whole lot. We're working a ton. And so they've been, the real folks that have been keeping us going. And, even in these crazy times, Sandals Church, is committed to meeting people where they're at. And we realize, digital connection, it's not a substitute for personal relationships. And we just feel blessed that we're able to connect people together with the vision of authenticity, leading people towards a real and awesome life. So we thank you for watching this. We appreciate that, and look forward to seeing you all at our next services. Man, I'm so grateful for the digital media team here at Sandals Church. We've just got so many talented individuals that are willing to jump in and literally do anything to make this happen. So we just want to thank you guys for joining us today. We're going to talk a little bit about how you can engage with us. Like, what does that look like? How do you watch our content? So, Mike, like, what would you say? How do people kind of like connect with us, engage with us?
Yeah, really, I think the best way to connect with Sandals Church really would be through social media. We put in a lot of work to make content that is really designed to help you in your faith journey, or help introduce you. That's really our mission as a team. Like, our goal is to translate the local church to culture, and we do that by telling stories, by creating media that is both educational if you got questions about Christianity and faith, and also is entertaining too, because we want you to enjoy the content as well. So if you follow us on social media at Sandals Church, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, also subscribing to our YouTube channel is great. Our debrief channel as well. So I would just say, in general, following us on social media is great because we try to meet you there with content to help you where you're at. Another interesting way you can connect with us that we love as a team is sandalschurch.com/share-your-story. And what this is just a webpage with some instructions for you on how you can call in and share a story if Sandals Church has benefited you, impacted you, or maybe some of our content has impacted you. We have a voicemail line set up where you can call in, it's anonymous, and you can just share what maybe God has done in your life. We've had some incredible stories. I think my favorite is we had someone who's a truck driver, drives cross country frequently, and found us on YouTube. And he called in and shared a story about just how the content was helping him, and he even was saying, just, it's helping me be a better person here out on the road, like kind of dealing with like anger on the road. It was just super cool. So yeah, if you have a story and you'd be willing to share it, it's really, really cool because it sort of activates our audience to be encouraged that God is moving here at Sandals Church and God is doing amazing things in people's lives. And it also, allows us to connect with more people. So those are some ways you can connect with us. Yeah,
I love hearing those stories. Yeah, the truck driver one was super great. We get a lot of questions about how people can engage with us, watch online, different things like that. So I would say, if you're watching by yourself, live.sandalschurch.tv is a great place to go to watch the services. There's a chat experience there where you can chat with other people, and so particularly if you're watching on your own, that's a good place to go. But we're also on Facebook and YouTube. We stream all of our services on those platforms right now, and there's chat hosts there that can chat with you, pray with you. But if you're in your home with your family right now, I would say our Roku app is a great thing to download. So if you've got a Roku, you can download the Roku app there and watch our services along with a whole bunch of our other content as well. And one of the things we've been doing is we've been posting our service on demand. So, starting Saturday night, usually you can kind of watch that service whenever you want. That way you can kind of fit it into your schedule a little bit easier. And that's on YouTube and on Roku and our website. So those are great places to go to watch the service. And we're producing midweek content right now. So you can find the schedule on our homepage. Live.sandalschurch.tv is a great place to watch it, or again, Facebook and YouTube. But another great kind of tool you can use is our mobile app. So we've developed mobile apps on iOS and Android, and there's content in there. There's Bible studies. The sermons are in there. You can give through it, and so that's a really great tool that makes it easy to kind of stay up to date on what's happening, watch our content, give to what Sandals Church is doing. So that's another great tool that kind of like our team has created that folks can engage with as well. So yeah. Well, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this kind of behind-the-scenes look at kind of like our team and the nerds that we've got running.
You say I'm a nerd as well?
Well, I mean,
do I qualify for being on the team?
I think so.
Okay. I'm a nerd.
I'm definitely a nerd. So yeah, thanks again. Hope you guys have a great week. Stay safe.